Hello and welcome to the Kingdom Two Crowns Call of Olympus announcement stream. My name is Angelica and this is Gordon.
My name is Gordon.
Yes, your name is Gordon. We are here to talk to you about the next installment in the Kingdom Two Crowns series, and we are so excited. This is a new DLC that's coming up, and we are taking you on an odyssey to ancient Greece, where we explore the mythos, but with a Greedified twist, I would say.
I see what you did there with the Odyssey.
I know. There's so many puns. The extent of research that has gone into this project is insane. I've been reading up on all the myths, and like the ancient Greek mythology is brutal and very sexual, actually. It's
perverted.
But we have had so much fun, and we are so excited to finally be able to talk about what we are doing with Kingdom Two Crowns and what we're going to do with the next DLC. And before we start, we're going to watch a trailer in a little bit. First, just let's quickly introduce Kingdom Two Crowns. If you haven't played Kingdom Two Crowns, what is it?
Well, Kingdom Two Crowns is it's a blend of kind of different genres to a lot of people, and certain elements of it stand out to people, and gamers, when that's something that they're very intrigued by. But I'd say the best way to describe it, it's like a side-scrolling kind of tower defense mix of city builder and with some elements of strategy. And like a lot of people like to joke, because you're collecting coins from your citizens, a tax collecting simulator. It's always been this difficult game to describe, and I think that difficulty to explain it is also where the magic comes from. The magic of watching a lot of decisions unfold into this climatic moment and this kind of this epic odyssey.
And also in this like pixel perfect, very ambient atmosphere where you ride out alone in the forest, but there's this sinister threat coming at you. But it's also very like zen-like and beautiful at times, but also very, very hectic when a blood moon hits and there are just these weird creatures coming out of the woods attacking you and the kingdom that you are trying to build. So it's like both very chill, but also kind of stressful and exciting at the same time. And one of the, like for me at least, most important elements of Kingdom Two Crowns as part of the series is that it did add co-op, so you could play together with someone else. And that is also something very beautiful about this game, because I play this with my kid. She's 7, she loves it. I play this with my partner, and I love to hear people talk about who they play Kingdom with. So for me, this installment in the series being a co-op title as well is a very important and exciting aspect.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. That is a long-running joke in this team, saying when you agree with something, you just post an image of agreed, the enemy in the game, holding the letter A, and then you have agreed.
It's an emoji you can get in Steam as well.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, you should get one. They're awesome. You're in
Collect
on the
your
joke
cards.
now. Yes. Okay, let's not dig deeper, because I think people really want to look at the trailer and see what is coming up next for Kingdom Two Crowns. Let's look.
Heed my prophecy, O seeker of destiny. In realms divine, a ruler, a monarch ascends. They seek hidden treasures, lands to command, and raise a new kingdom with a steady hand. God's challenge and trials they bestow, gain favor, and with ancient artifacts, royal power will grow. But as night approaches, beware the greed, a monstrous foe, in darkness it breeds. So listen well, O monarch of fate. A sinister call from atop Mount Olympus awaits.
So coming 2024, later this year, I hope that you all will be ready to answer the call of Olympus.
It's really a fantastic trailer. I feel like each time we do a trailer, I'm like, oh, we just made the best trailer for this. But I think it's always been a challenge to make trailers. So in the first trailers that we were making, I was trying to come up with ideas. So I at the beginning, there was just 3 of us, and I was capturing the footage. I was directing it. I was kind of coming up with the script, and we had hired my cousin because he helped us out for cheap because we were starting this company with no money.
This was the baby days of Raw Fury, when it was a very small company and Kingdom was a very small project. Still a small project, still an indie project, but it's a little bit bigger team nowadays.
Definitely.
But
so it was
like,
really fun.
You wore a lot of hats in that
I did.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is 2018.
No, 15.
15. But that's Kingdom Classic.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes. Okay.
So it was the very, very first one. So I was working on the game, I made all the screenshots, I did all the footage for the trailers, and put together the announcement trailer, and trying to kind of, how do we capture this game that, like we talked about earlier, is very difficult to describe.
Yeah, because you want to show, how does it feel to play, not just how it plays, just how does it feel to play? How do we capture that feeling in a trailer? You have the attention of somebody for, well, hopefully a minute or two, but likely just 10 seconds. And within those 10 seconds, you need to show what this is. You need to grab people's attention.
Exactly. And we wanted to capture the building, the upgrading, the defense, the earning an income, and capture all that, and then the expansion that you would try to do during the progress of the game. And it must have worked, because it helped us kickstart everything, and it was wildly successful, that first version of Kingdom. And it continues to deliver, and the trailers get better and better and better. And like this one,
it's very different
with the narration, and those cutscenes that are very much how we imagine the Greek parchment, and the art, and what we see. I think it's pretty accurate, but I think there's more colors, but we don't know. I mean, and just seeing that animated, but using pixel art, and the small details of choices, and how to reflect that and expand that without breaking what Kingdom is. And the pixel art is a big part of that magic. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it is different in many ways as well, because this is a different DLC. We have released DLCs in the past. We have done both Deadlands and Northlands, but this is Call of Olympus, and we are taking things even one step further. So there is a bit different way for us to show it off as well, which I think is exciting. I mean, there is so much that I wanted us to include in this trailer, but I also realized we can't show everything at once. So this trailer is really just like the first glimpse into what Call of Olympus is going to be, and it portrays this journey of a king who goes to new lands and discovers a new threat, and gets a really cool new mount. But let's break down the trailer a little bit, look at it more in detail.
Without context, that sounds like really straight. Like, I really want to talk about the map.
I love maps. You know what? Maps they're like the view of the world. They're so important, and the map is important in Kingdom. So when we set out to do Call of Olympus, and we took the map as one of the things, like in Northlands, we added another island to the map. We expanded like the size of the world a little bit. But in Call of Olympus, we are going to shake things up a little bit. And I don't think I'm allowed to say more about it. But this is actually not the real map, but we're going to talk about the map in the future. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm just excited to be talking more about how the world is built in Call of Olympus at a future point in time.
So you showed him a map, but you didn't show him the map.
It's not the map. It is a map. It is representative-ish. So yeah, we're just.
Do we get those waves?
The
Are you gonna have Are you adding those waves?
I am. I'm doing everything. But like it goes by really quickly, but we're seeing.
Can we talk about the water?
Yeah, like that is one of the big things. We came from Norseland as our latest expansion, and that's like we're heading to the frozen, frigid Nordic countries where things are really cold. So we wanted to kind of raise the temperature a little bit, and we'll just go on a vacation.
Like the Swedes do, like the
Yes.
Norse people do.
I mean, I am Swedish. I have actually never been to Greece, but during this project, I have looked at a lot of photos and videos. I really hope to go someday, but I'm just imagining that whatever we're doing right now is representative of the Greek environment. But yeah, like look at the water. It's really beautiful. It's got this turquoise, pristine feeling that just really feels so Mediterranean to me. So I want to go for a little swim.
When we start playing, I'll talk a bit more about the water from a technical side. Because
Yeah.
I think it's one of the
Look at it.
visuals that really
Yeah.
helped fingerprint Kingdom and give Kingdom this identity that others have, taken inspiration from, and it owns this so strongly that, I think if someone else uses the style,
Yeah.
people are going to really think of Kingdom, and that's just how powerful something that seems so, because it's passive in
But
the
it's-
gameplay
it's-
experience.
It's always there.
Exactly. Yeah, but that was so strong. It took Thomas like 3 months to get that water right. And this is the thing that I really loved when jumping into indie games. It's like in the past, it would have been very difficult to get something like that approved when I was on bigger productions, because they're measuring
Yeah.
everything in cost.
Yeah, just make it blue and move on to the next
Yeah.
thing.
It's
It's
not
like,
a big
no.
feature. It's not a
No.
selling feature. But I think those get missed sometimes because,
Yeah.
gamers are passionate people. And when there are certain things that, I think you can't ever just treat as product. You can't always treat everything as product. And you have to embrace some of these things that are very soft and could absolutely do nothing, but at the same time could create magic. And that's what it did. And I'm so I just love that Thomas pushed for that and took the time and did it right.
Yeah, and we're very thankful for it because that's what made Kingdom what it is, one of the things. I would like to just stop at the screen for a second and just point out a little detail. We have the two very iconic units. Let's see if I can get it here. So we got the two very iconic starting units in Kingdom. We got the worker, who gets a hammer. And then on the other side, we have previously had our archers. But in Call of Olympus, we're going to ancient Greece, and we have been looking at like ancient Greek warfare. And we realized that, sure, they used bows, but they also used slings. So we don't have archers in Call of Olympus. We actually have slingers. Slingers. Like
Not to be confused with swingers.
No, you would have known because there would have been a flamingo outside of the little tent.
Oy.
But there's not, so we can be pretty sure that these are at least slingers. But you never know. But I think that's it's been interesting going back because whenever we do a new DLC to Kingdom, we base it on the current game. Like, it is Kingdom 2 Crowns. It is a new take on the campaign experience, but we take everything that is in there and we adapt it to fit the new setting that we're choosing. And going into ancient Greek history has been so exciting at figuring out what fits in Kingdom 2 Crowns and how do we change things up. And I mean, especially here, you can also see in the background, we've got these giant statues, which is very classic for Kingdom to have in the background. Every back level have their own background monument, which is usually a weirdly huge structure of some kind that hints about maybe something else being here before.
Yeah,
you.
the ancients. We've talked about this before.
How much in depth have we talked about the ancients?
Not that much, but we talked about it in
deep,
80s.
We did, yeah. So there is a lot of lore behind the things that we show in Kingdom. There is a lot of A lot of it is written down for us internally so that we make sure that we stay straight with the facts when we do things. But there's a lot of myths going on in the background, and when we say that this is a greedified retelling of ancient Greek mythos, we really mean that. We take inspiration from ancient Greek and their legends, and we kind of marry it with our own universe and our own mythos, and kind of make it fit into the same world as we make the Norse mythology and Norseland fit in. So to me, all of these ancient mythologies kind of fit into the same world when we marry them with our own greed narrative, basically.
Yeah, it's like our, the lore of this is definitely, it's, we take all of actual history and we give it a kingdom twist.
Exactly.
It's a little splash. It's like vanilla Coke. And if
Can
you
we-
don't like vanilla Coke, it's like cherry Coke. And if you really don't like cherry Coke,
What about like the lemon version of Coke?
lime Coke.
No,
There's not a lemon one, is
there's a lemon. There's a lemon light used to exist. At
Oh.
least I don't know if it exists anymore.
I think
Anyway.
the U.S. exported it, tricked all the
Maybe.
Europeans into drinking it.
Can we just appreciate this cute beggar camp where they live in a big barrel or kind of urn-like structure? It's like half tent, half. Yeah, I love it. We're cutting down trees, very classic kingdom. We're also building some buildings and towers. And I think this is also something that we decided to kind of take a step further when it comes to Call of Olympus, because when we look at ancient Greek history, like they built so much cool shit. We can't have tents and wooden huts. So this is actually the farmhouse, and if you look at it, like it is a proper house, it is a proper building. And I can drop one thing that we've actually changed for Call of Olympus. So if you're familiar with the little merchant that comes with his donkey, he gives you some wares, that gives you coins, and if you give him a coin back, he's gonna come back the next day and give you some more wares and more coins. So it's a little trade-off. But if you cut down the trees and expand beyond his little camp, his camp is going to get destroyed and he's going to disappear, and you won't get to use him anymore, the little merchant. But what we did in Call of Olympus was when we started making all these sketches for how would a little merchant's house look in ancient Greece, it turned out to be like a fully built little house. Very cute house. Unfortunately, I don't think it's in the trailer, so I can't show it, but it's kind of similar to this. And it just didn't make sense. Like, why would it disappear just because we cut down the trees? So we ended up, to just make it make sense, we ended up keeping it. So in Call of Olympus, if there is a merchant present on the level, it will always be present, even if you cut down the trees. So for a lot of the buildings, we have made them a bit more advanced. Basically, I would say they're more brick and mortar than like wooden huts.
Yeah.
And also,
but does he still come, or does
he still comes, yeah.
Yeah.
And he even let's see.
That's why the Greeks were so rich.
Am I allowed to talk more about it? He does not transport his wares only using a donkey these days, because we all know that like when we think ancient Greece, we do think a lot about seafaring. So that's
If you
we
can't
gave
figure
him a
that
little-
clue out,
we gave him a little update.
maybe Kingdom
okay.
isn't the game for
I want to get stuck on the merchant, but I do like the merchant. Is such a great feature. Like I love having the merchant, and it's nice to just get that little extra cash, regardless of season in the game, etc. So I'm a big fan of the merchant. But yeah, so it's gonna look quite different with a lot of the buildings being a little bit more advanced, but you're gonna recognize that many of the buildings that you see in the other campaigns are still, of course, here in Call of Olympus. But we also added a few cool things as well. Yeah, like this one. This is cool. I mean,
But
when
what is
when we did Norse lands, we decided to explore the Norse gods. Like, what's Norse mythology if not the Norse gods? So that is definitely something that we have been leaning even more into when we've done Call of Olympus, or when we're working on it right now, is exploring all these legends about the ancient Greek gods. And this is I don't know if you can guess what god it is just from looking at it. Probably. I'm guessing. Well, we're gonna be able to tell you
That's
more.
kind of cheating because you did all.
I mean, I know, obviously. We're gonna be talking more about the gods and their purpose in this world and how they will be influencing the player's journey in Call of Olympus. But I do want to say that some of the Greek gods will have influence. That's for sure.
I want to point out something because I know we discussed it in the beginning, and you guys have had a lot of conversations that I haven't been part of. But what I see here on this one is painting, some decorative painting, kind of above the columns, and I think there's been a lot of discussion more recently that they're like, no, but these pillars and the statues and everything were all painted and wow.
Actually super colorful. Yeah,
Yeah.
when we think ancient Greece nowadays, like what we have been seeing portrayed in culture is, or in media, is like these white, pristine marble statues. That's what you see, that's what you think about. But it turns out, as historians have been figuring out, that that's probably not the case. They were most likely painted and super colorful. So we did actually sit down and talk about it when we started doing, like, how historically accurate do we want to be? Like, this new information that they probably weren't just white marble. Do we want to incorporate that into the game, or do we want to kind of stick to the idea of what ancient Greece would have looked like? And I think that Kingdom is not historically correct. But we are inspired by history. So it's kind of a compromise where we decided to make those white marble statues, but also we're not afraid to add a little bit of color where we saw fit. And if you want to get technical about it, it's also about readability. How do we make sure that players are looking at the right things? How are we making sure that when they look at screen, they see the details, which is actually quite a big challenge when it comes to pixel art. It leaves so much up for your own eyes to kind of fill in the details. So if you have too many colors that blend in or that contrast each other or draw too much attention, it's going to be hard to see what's going on at the screen, or see what kind of unit is this. Those kinds of things get really important. So there is like the middle part of the screen where the player is and where we have the units. We have to be really careful about what kind of detail do we put there, because as soon as you have a lot of details, it's going to be really hard to see the units walking in front of it.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect blend because whether we're historically accurate or not, pop culture impacts and media and entertainment impacts how we perceive the past to be. And none of us have ever been there. And if you have, share your technology with me. But so we have to kind of take those elements in. If we tried to make this look more accurate, like archaeologists are discovering, etc., I don't think people would think it looked Greek.
No.
And that's the irony of these things. So we have to, when you design anything, you have to embrace some of those things. And if you can punch a little hole through those older traditions and you can bring in new knowledge into it, you do.
Yeah.
And I think what you guys did is the perfect blend. Because when you look at this instantly, it feels Greek. And that's how people see it now when they go there. Because obviously they used water-based paints instead of lead-based paints.
I mean, we have been looking at so many pictures of pillars and columns and like going through the historical development of different types of pillars and columns and like what does fit. That's actually been very exciting because the ancient Greek architecture. Serious? I'm being dead serious. That's what I love about this team, is that everybody has their thing. So we got Sarah, who's really into pillars and looking at that. And we got Valentina, who's really into trees, and she knows all the flora that's existed in ancient Greece, and she picked out which trees we wanted to have in the background. Like all of those things, all of those decisions, we look at history, we look at like as you said, the idea of ancient Greece, and we try to figure out what do we want to put in the game and what also works well with the game experience.
And another big reason for picking this setting is that it is in the Mediterranean, and a large part of the development team is in Croatia.
Yeah.
So a lot of them have these visual references and environment, and a lot of them gone to the sea. So
Yeah.
all of those things really helped. I feel like that team feel like they could contribute something beyond just the basics, right?
Yeah.
Beyond doing just research. And we had that advantage when we did Norselands.
Yeah, we could just open the window and how does a birch tree look
Exactly.
again? Yeah.
I went into the Swedish forest and I was taking all kinds of
Yes.
photos, reference photos.
Yeah. So our team is split between Zagreb mostly and Stockholm, but we got some people spread out both in Spain and in the US as well, actually. So yeah, we're a very international team these days.
Euro-national.
I'm national. There's one more thing I wanted to point out that we actually added. Oh, look at this. Okay, so what we've done, we have added 2 versions of every shopkeeper. Shopkeeper is what we call the people manning the little stalls where you can buy tools. So
Did you say
for
manning?
this, what?
They're manning.
Or womanning. But in this case, they're actually manning, I would say, judging by the beard. So we got the little white-haired fellas. We got one guy who's selling hammers, and we got one guy who is selling the slings. Or is it slingshots, maybe? Oh, it's a little... and we actually put in 2 versions of every character in this case. So it's random if it is a woman or a man who's manning or womaning the stall selling things. I really like that we just put that little extra effort into just making the world even more diverse.
And dynamic.
Yeah, and we got the skin colors changing on the characters as we've had since forever, it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's little tiny detail, like something we did that people probably aren't going to notice, but I notice it, and I love it. I love there's 2 versions of every shopkeeper.
But small things like that, they, even if someone doesn't really see directly, there is this background influence, and that's super important, and something that Kingdom has always embraced. So when Thomas was leading the design, when I was leading the design, it is something that we always made important, because those little background elements kind of breathe extra life and take you in. The immersion just becomes stronger because it becomes a more believable place. And that's what immersion is. You're trying to get someone to imagine if they were there and take them and create that magical bridge to that place. Yeah. And it is those bits and those little small pieces that really help take it there. All the passive things, like we talked about the water earlier, all of those things interweave to create that bridge into that immersion and hold the player there. And that's why we play games.
Yeah, there's definitely magic to be found between the pixels here. And we have been working on this for over a year now, and we still got a bit left to work on. But I'm confident saying that it's going to happen this year, which feels great. One thing I wanted to talk about as well is just the amazing music that we have in the trailer. Is more of that you're going to hear in the game. It is a soundtrack by Andreas Hald, who we also got to help us when we did Kingdom 80, so he also did that soundtrack. So we're getting just more of that magic. And that's, yeah, it's a good sneak peek of how the soundtrack is going to sound like, and I'm really excited for it. And the key art that we're seeing in front of us, like the cover of the game, is it's truly a piece of art, and I just want to give credit to both Sara Divjak and Hania Grigurcevic for creating it. It's amazing and such a beautiful display of what we want to do with Call of Olympus. We got the background with the mountain kind of hidden by the clouds. We got the sunset, and we got our two rulers, kingdom, two crowns, two rulers, like such an important aspect of the game. We got the Pegasus, which is such a classic and iconic Greek element that like we couldn't do without it. It was one of the first things we decided on. Like, we need to have a Pegasus in the game. You need to be able to ride it, and it needs to be on the cover. So that's really exciting. Like, yeah, I cannot talk about all the things here because we are seeing some things that I'm not allowed to talk about. I got a little list of things that I'm not allowed to talk about. But if you look closely, you'll get a few hints of what you will be able to explore in the game.
Inquiring minds will be rewarded.
Yes, I will definitely say so. So if you're just kind of summarizing why we ended up making a Greek setting as our next DLC, I would also add that it's one of the most requested settings that our players have talked about. We did the Vikings one, which was also very requested, but exploring ancient Greece has been something that players have been talking about for a long time, and it's also something that we have been thinking about for a very long time.
Since the beginning.
Yeah.
It was on my original list of cultural regions to explore.
Yeah. So it's definitely been something that we've been carrying with us for a long time, but just the myths and the stories that we've been able to marry with the Greedified mythos that we have created ourselves. And also like the nature and I would say like the military history as well. Like all of those things really played into our decision deciding to go to Greece, basically. And I'm really excited to just be here. I don't know how many times I've used the word excited during this stream so far, probably like a gazillion. But we've been working on it for a year and I haven't been allowed to talk about it. So finally kind of lifting the lid and being able to show the world what we're doing and how cool it's going to be. It's just makes me very happy.
It's like, this is kind of bittersweet for me because I'm also now much less connected directly to Kingdom. Still indirectly, but it's, but I'm also excited because you get to have that feeling. And I guess I should go into my little segment then, right?
I mean, yeah, we have been doing streams for quite some time, talking about our different Kingdom games that we've been working on, and I've been here for it's almost 5 years now that we have been working together.
Wow.
And before that, I had a background as a games journalist. I met you at an event, and I came up to you because I was going to interview you on stage, and I told you about how much I love Kingdom. It was one of my favorite games. As I played Kingdom Newlands a lot, I remember Christmas. I played all through Christmas on my mobile phone while I was visiting my parents. But I talked to you both before and after we did the interview on stage on that event. And I told you how much I like Kingdom, but I also complained about all the stuff you need to fix in Kingdom. I was like, this doesn't work, and you should fix this, and this should work this way. It was probably a little bit rude.
No.
but it came from a place of passion because I just saw so much beauty in the game, and I was so excited to talk to you. And after that, you just offered me a job basically on the spot.
Yeah.
Which
is,
is,
we had been looking for someone to help us, and when you have those kind of moments, and it's there's a bit of serendipity to that scenario, and you just have to kind of go for it. You have to take that leap of faith, and the funny thing was the interview had nothing to do with Kingdom Two Crowns either, and I hadn't made this connection for some reason, but we had also worked together, kind of.
We worked
Paradox
at the same office, but
yeah.
at different departments, basically. Yeah, but then I worked in like online game retail with marketing stuff and things like that, and community. And then I went into journalism. So that was like 10 years before that.
Yeah.
So yes.
And so
our paths have intertwined at several points in history. But for the last 5 years, they have been very closely intertwined, where I've been just soaking everything in and learning as much as I can about creating games and making Kingdom, and also kind of contributing like my perspective of what Kingdom is and helping evolve Kingdom and take Kingdom to the next step, which I feel like we've been doing with every new expansion that we've been making.
So that's another big announcement, or maybe it's not so big. Maybe nobody knew that I was the game director on all the previous Kingdom 2 Crowns, mostly. But I've been working on Kingdom since the beginning. But the next big announcement is Angelica's, and for this project has taken over as in a game director role. And kind of what does that mean? What does the game director do? It's a lot of different things.
I feel like I point
but
at
it's
stuff
steering
and
the
say
vision.
yes or no.
Yeah, because it's steering the vision. You have to have that
Yes.
that one voice, that one individual who knows what it is that this needs to be at the end. When it's done, what will this be? And it's so important that you have that one individual who is going to make those tough calls, because it's very easy to get excited. It's very easy to think something's cool, but it might not connect in the way that it needs to. And that having that single person tying those pieces together and overseeing that and taking that responsibility is incredibly important. But it needs to be the right person. I'm just lucky. Otherwise, I would have been, in this role, which I wouldn't have minded either. But I wouldn't have been able to. You can't just hand it over to anyone either. So it's like it's just so fortunate that we were able to cross paths in that way, and to have been working on the project and leading that kind of got you so excited, and be able to not. Because you have to have an instinct for it. You have to have this intuition that can't be taught. And
like knowing what Kingdom is.
Yep.
Because you need to have a crystal clear vision for what it is, but also be willing to explore what it can be and making the right decisions, taking the experience to the next level all the time, and making sure that you still keep the core of what Kingdom is. So that's like that's my gut feeling that I consult with every day. Like, is this Kingdom? Are we still making Kingdom? Is this decision taking us closer to what the next Kingdom experience should be?
And that person also has to sometimes defend those elements, and defend it in a way that sometimes is exhausting. And so it really takes a unique individual. And I'm just super honored that, one, that we ended up working together, and two, that you were willing to take on this challenge.
You're making me all teary-eyed. I remember, like, just when I started, you were doing, we actually met in Tokyo around Bit Summit, because I was there doing my last gig as a journalist covering Tokyo Game Show, and you were showing Kingdom at Bit Summit. No.
Yeah, it was a Bit Summit event.
The Bit Summit event after Tokyo Game Show in the evening, and I went there, and you were just about to do a stream, and you're like, come join me to be interviewed on a Japanese stream with translators, and I hadn't even started working yet, and you just pulled me in. But I remember at the point I talked about kind of moving into Kingdom as an existing game and coming in and helping out, and I remember talking about it like it was your baby and I was there to take care of it. And I feel like now I'm officially adopting it. Becoming its legal guardian, I guess. Legal guardian of creative vision. So I'm going to put that
Social
on my
services
business
took
card. It's like, you can't handle this anymore, Gordon. But just to be clear, like, you will still be around. You're still here, just not here. You're still working at Raw Fury. It's just Raw Fury is so much bigger now than when it launched. So there are a lot more games that need your help, basically.
Yeah, I mean, being one of the founders of Raw Fury, you kind of have to, when it grows like this, you have so much knowledge as a founder or co-founder, that staying in the company and going into a role that's a bit broader can be incredibly beneficial. And while there's a lot of value to those who have been with Kingdom since the beginning, there's also an incredible amount of value and kind of also finding the right time to transition that, because you're going to bring some of your own passion and your unique ideas at the same time. And so it's going to evolve in the right way and incremental bits. And I think that that's also incredibly important, because at a certain point it can become very stale. And yeah, so I think that that's also a fantastic part to that. And then still being connected feels really good, because we sync up, at least we have a reoccurring meeting, and then ad hoc you'll come and talk to me about things, and I just share my thoughts and you make the decision. And I think that that's also a really good way to work, because I'm still doing the blenders, and I had kind of oversaturated them a bit.
The blenders, just like that's technical speak. So that means the weather, basically, and how the weather affects the light, and how the sunset looks, how the water looks when you're riding in the woods. Yeah. That's what you mean when you say blenders.
Yeah, so it's all of the things that affect the environment.
It's basically the most important feature in the entire game.
I think I feel like
no, but it's really important for the atmosphere, and it's something that makes, like, in Kingdom you can spend like an hour playing the same level, going back and forth to the same camp and the same riding past the same trees, but it's never gonna look the same, because it's not only does the weather change and the time of day change, and you get the sunsets and sunrise and stars during night, but there's always the season, so the tree colors will change, and all of that have different, blenders, and that's what makes it feel like the world is changing all the time with the time of day and the seasons. So it really makes the world come alive.
Yep, it comes alive, and it's something that we as humans on planet Earth, it's intuitive, because that's what we experience. And so, the passage of time and having it reflected with things that, we can connect to and relate to in our real life, just add to that immersion that we even talked about earlier. And so I'd say that the blenders are incredibly one of the most important features in tying together everything in the world, all the other assets for the immersion. So all the sprites would look the same if we didn't tweak the blenders, and everything would be static. And obviously we couldn't do that. And this is quite a crude system as well for blenders. I mean, it's advanced but crude at the same time, because I have to hand tune every single one for each season, each weather state, and each time of day. And I think there's like 180, and for the forest and the caves and the blood moon states, the retaliation waves.
And the first day of each season has a specific state. So it's a lot of work. But you're still hanging on to that. That's the one thing that you're still responsible for.
That's the one thing I'm still doing for this.
You're the weatherman.
But I've done it for so long. I think I can do it faster than if we hand it over to someone else. And I've been thinking about these things obsessively for so many years now. This is like almost 10 years of thinking about these kinds of things. And I think when you have that person and they can still do something on a project, you should always try to tap their shoulder, because you just can't transfer all of that to another person as much as I would like to.
I mean, I still remember the point in the project where we finally got around to changing the color of the water. So it went from like the little grayish Northlands vibe water to these like lovely turquoise Mediterranean pristine sea. And that change just made such a huge difference for the atmosphere in the game. overall. It's just like you were immediately transported somewhere else.
I had to fight for that a little bit too.
Well, not the colors.
No, but to get it to where it would work the way I wanted it to work. So I had a very clear vision about how the water needed to work. And we are so fortunate that the team for this project, we got for the first time a real technical artist. Super, super talented. And
shout out to Jurica.
Yeah. And I got to work with him and kind of go back and forth. I used my own reference photos for being in. I use Croatia. Don't tell anybody. This is actually the Adriatic Sea. It's definitely not.
Oh no. Very inaccurate. Very geographically inaccurate, Gordon.
I know.
2 out of 10.
8 out of 8.
8 out of 8.
So, so we just worked together and tried to get that right. And then I had really kind of gone a little bit over the top, which I sometimes like to do. It is like the Sid Meier's rule of thumb kind of thing. Is it's like if you want to tune something and you're trying to figure out where it is, and you're doing this with numeric numbers and stuff. And sorry, but I'm using hex codes and stuff like that with the waters, and you just take it too far.
You double it.
Yeah. And then if it's too much, you half what you doubled. And then if that's too much, you half what that is to what so what is that?
So
a quarter of what
200% and then back to 150.
Right,
Numbers.
Exactly. And then 125. Or if you brought it down too much, you go to 175. And you just kind of find that.
Art is just math when it comes to video games.
A lot of it is, that's how color's done in digitally. So yeah, so having all those little elements coming together, it was very, it was really helped give it that je ne sais quoi of the Mediterranean.
It's a beautiful sea. And I think that I just want to say that, like, the reason I feel so confident taking over this responsibility with you stepping away as game director is because we have an amazing team that has so much knowledge and so much passion. I'm not gonna name names because I am going to forget someone, but it's an amazing team, and we've grown a lot over the 5 years that I've been here, but most people have stuck around, and it's so clear that there's so much passion for this game, and we all really do want to make sure that we are making Call of Olympus the best version of Kingdom 2 Crowns ever to exist. It's such a clear goal for us, and I'm just psyched to do it with this team. And I'm also excited to tell you that you will get to know more of the team in the future, both in streams, but also in development blogs that we're going to put up. So you will get to know them as well, not just me. Feels good.
Feels great.
Feels great. I'm wondering if there are any questions that we might have left unanswered, other than the stuff that I'm not allowed to talk about because I don't want to spoil carefully laid out marketing plans by our marketing manager. So I can't talk about everything, but I'm wondering if there's any question that we should have answered that we haven't answered yet. What do you think?
No, but I want to talk about this feature that I really love. No, I'm just kidding. I just want when Pontus watches for the first time,
I just realized I did bring something that is a little bit on, like, it's not spoilers because you're not going to understand what it is, but I was flipping through my notebooks. Do you want to hand me a crown? Thank you. I will hand you.
Agreed.
We agreed that. Okay.
Agreed. Stole the crown.
But I went through my notebooks and I was like, can I show something so that people really feel like we're taking you with us behind the curtain? And I realized that all my notes look like madman ramblings, and they just make no sense, and they look like shit because usually I write with a pencil, and then when I run out of paper, I just grab like a red marker and I write other notes on top of the notes. So it's like they're literally madman ramblings. But I did bring 2 papers that are kind of readable. Let's see if we can show them. Okay, so let's see here. So what we're looking at is
I think you gotta bring it lower.
Lower. I don't look it up. Yeah, okay. We're looking at a sketch of a forge, a hammer, an anvil, big chains, giant weapons. Okay. So this is how I think on paper. I just wanted to show that, like, when we have ideas of how can we build the levels, what kind of unique objects can we add, what kind of stories do we want to tell? Because I mean, we tell stories. We told a very narrative story. You want to hold that one? Yeah. We told a very narrative, like, classic story when we did Kingdom 80s, but with Kingdom Two Crowns, we are telling stories without words. Like, we are telling stories with how we build the world. So the stories are there. They're just not, like, written and told to you. But there are definitely stories in the world in Kingdom Two Crowns. This is one that we're actually bothered to pick up my markers and just sketched out a little bit. Let's see if we can get it closer. So yeah, good. This is an idea that I had for a cool thing we could do, and yeah, you can see there's little green portals. There's a cave.
Waterfalls.
There's actually not a lot of caves in this game. Oh shit, I'm not allowed to say that. You're better in the stream before before I.
They're all in the drawing.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of caves in this game. That's all I'm gonna say. And let's just go out on watching the trailer one more time because it's a blast. And yeah, that's it. Thank you all for watching, and I hope that you are as excited as we are to share Kingdom Two Crowns Call of Olympus with all of you later this year.
And enjoy my t-shirt. It's rare.
Well, okay, look at my t-shirt.
Another rare.
Okay, another rare. Look at it. No, it's I was looking at the camera. Okay, I got a Griffin t-shirt. It's a really old one. And you know what you can do if you want to help us out? Wishlist Call of Olympus, because that is going to help us get more eyeballs on the game until it releases. I was trying to point at my eyes. I don't know. Because I'm seeing myself, and that's making me very confused right now. So yeah, wishlist Call of Olympus. That'll make us happy, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
My prophecy, O seeker of destiny. In realms divine, a ruler, a monarch ascends. They seek hidden treasures, lands to command, and raise a new kingdom with a steady hand. God's challenge and trials they bestow, gain favor, and with ancient artifacts, royal power will grow. But as night approaches, beware the greed, a monstrous foe, in darkness it breeds. So listen well, O monarch of fate. A sinister call from atop Mount Olympus awaits.